Thank you. Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General Lynch, who made the decision that no charges would be brought against Secretary Clinton?
Congressman, with respect to that decision, I had determined that I would accept the recommendation of the team.
So
I made that known.
Who ultimately made the decision?
I made that known, and then when the recommendation was given to me, I did accept that recommendation.
So did you ultimately make that decision, or did Director Comey?
Well, Director Comey was part of the team.
Who ultimately made the decision?
So the team consisted of prosecutors and agents. That did include Director Comey,
I want
but
to know
there
where
were
the buck
others.
stops. Who made the decision?
As I indicated before, I had previously decided that I would accept their recommendation when they made it to
So
me.
are you saying you made the
their
decision?
recommendation.
Are you saying you made the decision?
I had previously indicated I would accept their recommendation.
Okay, so on July 1st, let's just run through that. On July 1st, you said, I'll accept the recommendations of the FBI. Mr. Comey didn't announce his decision until July 5th, and he said that he didn't talk to you beforehand. Now, I assume it's not unusual for the Attorney General to accept the recommendations of the FBI and the career prosecutors and the team, as you've so often cited. What is unusual is to make a big, bold public announcement that you're going to do it. It's one thing to do it. I assume it happens all the time. It's another thing to announce ahead of time you're going to do it. So here's what I'm having trouble with, and I guess a lot of people are having trouble with. If you commit and announce that you will abide by the FBI's decision before they even finish their investigation, then how can you also say ultimately it was your decision?
Well, Congressman, as I've indicated, I accepted their recommendation. I had indicated.
So are you? What I want to know is, was it not your decision, or was it your decision? Because it seems to me you can't have it both ways. You can't say I'm the Attorney General and I decide, but yet I'm going to take their recommendations even before they make their recommendations.
I had indicated that I would be accepting their recommendation because I wanted to make it clear that any conversation that I might have had with the former president would have no impact on the team or the review or the investigation.
You ever do this before?
I have not had occasion to do that before, but I felt it was important.
So you've never announced before an investigation is done that whatever they come up with, maybe they're going to screw it up. Who knows? You've never announced before that whatever they recommend, I'm going to follow. Never happened before.
It was important in this case to do so.
So this is the first time you've ever done that. Announced beforehand. I don't care what their recommendations are. By golly, I'm going to follow them.
I have complete faith in the judgment and the hard work of the team.
I'm not questioning whether you have faith in them. I think probably a lot of people have faith in the FBI in a lot of situations. I don't know that they agree with them here, but I think you have faith in a lot of times. What I'm questioning is why announce ahead of time when you've never done it before? Why announce ahead of time, I'm going to follow their recommendations even though I don't know what they are, and still claim you're the ultimate decider?
Well, as I indicated, I felt it was important to express my role in the investigation, to clarify my role, because I was concerned that the conversation I had with the former president would make people think that there could be some influence.
So that was the trigger.
That, in my view, was something that needed to be clarified. I felt that people needed to understand my role.
So you've never done this before, but when you have a conversation with the former president, the husband of the subject of an ongoing investigation, and you have that conversation before they've interviewed the subject and before they've reached their recommendations and finished their investigation, that's what triggered you to do this thing you've never done before, which is announce, I don't care what they recommend, I'm going to follow it.
My concern was that the conversation that I had with President Clinton would be seen by some as having an influence over that. I felt it was important to clarify.
Just some, General Lynch, a lot of people.
And I felt it was important to clarify that even before I had landed in Phoenix, I made that decision.
Here's what I see happening.
I felt it was important that people hear that from me.
Here's what I think is, I think your actions made it worse. I really do. I think a lot of people already think that there are two systems, as many have talked about, one for we the people, a different one, entirely different one for the politically connected. Your former Secretary of State, your former Senator, your former First Lady, your nominee for President, your husband meets with you 5 days before a decision is announced. Different standard for those facts. And you proved it. You demonstrated that it's different by your actions because you said you've never done this before, so you not only You changed your internal practices. You changed the fact that you've never announced beforehand that you're going to follow recommendations before you even have the recommendations. Your actions contribute to this belief that the system is rigged. And that, you made a bad situation worse by saying, I'm going to do whatever they recommend, even though I don't know what the recommendations are. I don't know anyone who would conduct themselves that way when they're the ultimate decider. But you said, I'm going to wait. I'm going to do whatever they said, and I'm not even going to wait to see what they're recommending. I'm going to follow it. You showed that this case was different, and the law is supposed to treat every single person the same. And your announcement, by definition, made this thing entirely different. And then, of course, what was ultimately decided made it entirely different as well. I yield back.
Give you some.
The gentleman from Utah, Mr. Chaffetz, for 5 minutes, and then we will recess to give the general an opportunity for a brief break, but we'll resume immediately after.
I thank the Chairman and Madam Attorney General. Thank you so much for being here.
Afternoon.
Does an individual need a security clearance to review or have access to classified material?
Congressman, that issue will be dependent upon the agency for whom they worked and the nature of the work that they did. With respect to every agency, and the agency would make that decision and determination.
Is it legal or illegal to share classified information with somebody who doesn't have a security clearance?
Congressman, it depends on the facts of every situation. You'd have to determine how that sharing occurred. You'd have to determine the means. You'd have to determine, the reason, the intent. Certainly, depending upon how you view the statute, it could go any number of ways.
So you think there is a scenario in which you could share classified information with somebody who doesn't have the requisite security clearance?
No, I would not draw that conclusion. I would say that I'm not able to answer it as a hypothetical, but that there are a number of factors that would go into the decision, and one could have any number of results.
Is it legal or illegal to provide access to somebody who doesn't have the requisite security clearance to view classified material?
To provide access?
Yeah.
Again, I'd need more facts on the hypothetical, but I would look at a number of things, and depending upon how you reviewed it, it could go any number of ways.
Is it legal or illegal to store, house, or retain classified information in a non-secure location?
Again, I would refer you to the statute. One could, in fact, have liability, again, depending upon the nature and facts and
Do you
circumstances.
have any examples of where it's legally acceptable to retain classified information in a non-secure location?
I don't have a hypothetical answer for that.
Is it legal or illegal to provide false testimony under oath?
There are a number of statutes that cover that, both at the federal and state level. There are a number of ways in which that could be found.
There's a difference between prosecuting something and whether it's legal or illegal. You know, these questions are pretty simple, and we've got millions of people with security clearance. How are they supposed to go through the gyrations that you've laid out in order to make a simple determination?
Congressman, if we had a specific fact situation or fact pattern, that could be reviewed.
I'm just
when
asking,
it comes
is
to a
it
hypothetical situation, it would be unfair to come up with a blanket answer to someone without reviewing all the facts of their situation.
I'm asking if it's legal or illegal to share classified information with somebody who doesn't have a security clearance.
Again, I would refer you to the appropriate statutes, and I'd refer you to the facts of every situation. It would be unfair to give a blanket answer to every hypothetical.
Why aren't we telling all the federal employees and contractors who have access to classified information, those in our military, why aren't we telling them, you can't do this, it's against the law? Why can't you say that?
We give them guidance. Again, every agency does. We give them examples. We give them information as to how to make those decisions. We show them. And again, every information provides, every agency provides
why is
that,
the law not sufficient guidance? You believe, is there a flaw in the law? Or is there a suggestion on the law? I mean,
I don't have a comment on the state of the law. My answer is that in order,
somebody asked me to consult an attorney, and you are the Attorney General. And I think you're sending a terrible message to the world, to those people who are trying to make some simple decisions. The lack of clarity that you give to this body, the lack of clarity on this issue is pretty stunning. These seem like simple issues. Let me ask you, the team that you talk about in the Secretary Clinton email scandal, outside of the FBI, who was on that team that you refer to that made the recommendation?
as I indicated before, they would be career prosecutors.
Okay, so they're prosecutors. Anybody else on the team that was a participant in the investigation?
Not to my knowledge. I'm not sure if you're referring to anybody else. Can you give me some further context for that?
I don't know, like if they go back and do security clearances, determine classification, whether it's secure or non-secure, I would think that there'd be somebody outside of the FBI that would help you make those determinations.
Well, the Department of Justice team would be Department of Justice employees.
I'm trying to ask specific to which departments within the department. I mean, Department of Justice is a large organization, right? FBI is part of that. Prosecutors are part of it. Who above and beyond prosecutors in the FBI was involved in this investigation?
As I've indicated before, the DOJ team was composed of the career lawyers and seasoned agents in there. I'm not sure if you're asking about something outside of DOJ.
I didn't know if there was another unit or other people that were part of it. That was my question. My time is expired.